climb on high.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to Summit Up, your one-stop shop for all things Denver Summit FC, with plenty of side hikes into greater NWSL landscape, women's sports in Denver, and everything you should know about the culture and community of soccer at 5280. Summit Up is part of the Bangarang soccer community, telling soccer stories a mile in the sky and on till morning. Check out our Colorado Rapids sibling show, Pitcast, and come play free pickup soccer with us all around the Denver metro area.
Most importantly, we aim to be a collaborative human soccer show for community-minded soccer humans. So do your best corner flag slide right into our DMs.
Let's kick it. I'm Kaylee, and with me today is Matt. We're going to go peak to peak on all the news you need to know, followed by an amazing long-form conversation in which we'll speak to Denver's District 7 Councilwoman Flor Alvidrez. For those of you unfamiliar with Lucky Number 7, it encompasses the future home of Denver Summit FC Santa Fe Yards. You're not going to want to miss this one.
All right, let's go peak to peak. So the biggest news of the week, I think, is that Denver Summit can officially field a 3v3 team.
Woo woo!
I know. Utah Royals, come on, you're not doing anything come November. Let's throw down in some
Let's do a 3v3 match.
Yeah. So the Summit announced that they signed Nahikari Garcia. Nahikari is a Spanish national team forward. She had come out of contract with Athletic Club Bilbao and chose Denver as her next club and her first club outside of Europe. Nahikari is going to serve a short-term loan at Nottingham Forest in the Women's Super League 2 in England. She actually made her first appearance with Forest this past weekend, coming on for the second half and creating one chance, unfortunately, in a 1-2 loss to Newcastle United. Callie, what's crazy is that Nahikari, she's only 28. She's been playing for 12 years now. She was signed to Real Sociedad when she was 16. And since then, she's played for the Spanish national team, U17s and up. This seems like a really big kind of like experienced tone setter. International competitions. I'm excited for this one.
Yeah, me too. Absolutely.
So in another signing, actually a surprise signing, the Summit have signed their first player for 2043. They announced that last week. Gianna Capri Wilson, the newborn daughter of future Summit star Sophia Wilson, has entered the chat. First message was "Hello World." She projects to be an explosive wide player, given her mother's pedigree, as well as her father Michael, NFL wide receiver for the Arizona Cardinals. So I guess that's 3+1 we've got for Labor Day and signing so far this offseason.
That's crazy that her first words were "take me to Denver." That's what I heard.
Yeah. You're like, you think it's crying, but it's just like, "Take me home, mountain roads."
Yeah.
Oh, man. Yeah, I guess Rocky Mountain High was taken on the birth certificate, or, like Michael objected. But Gianna Capri Wilson's a beautiful name nonetheless.
It's beautiful, yeah. And cheers to the new family, all the well wishes.
Congratulations. Around the NWSL, transfer waves were made when the long-rumored move of Alyssa Thompson from Angel City FC to Chelsea was completed. The transfer fee has been reported as $1.3 million, which is a record transfer for both clubs, Angel City FC as well as Chelsea Football Club, but just shy of the recent NWSL record of $1.5 million set by Orlando that they paid for Jack Ovalle. Additionally, to usurp that news, the new global transfer record in women's soccer was broken by Michelle Kang and London City Lionesses, who agreed to a $1.9 million transfer fee from PSG for French national midfielder Grace Gaillero.
That's awesome.
Numbers are going up. Like we talked about last episode, the $2 million woman, she's coming up soon.
People are investing in women's sports. It's good to see.
Yeah, you could tell how far NWSL as a league has come along because pundits are already having conversations. I think there was an article in The Athletic this morning about, is the NWSL's roster rules too restrictive to keep talent inside the league? Which, like, when people are writing long form articles about your roster rules, I really feel like you've made it as a league.
Yeah, absolutely. I couldn't agree more.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of records, I don't know if you caught the jersey retirement ceremony from over the weekend. Alex Morgan's jersey was retired as the first player in San Diego Wave history to have her number 13 jersey retired. And this is only the second player in the NWSL history to have a jersey retired. The first being Megan Rapinoe, her number 15, retired by Seattle Reign in 2024. But the ceremony was beautiful. Definitely came after a hard loss from the San Diego Wave. But the jersey retirement ceremony, I mean, they had over 15,000 fans in attendance. Morgan was fighting back tears, reflecting on just how transformative her 3 years in San Diego Wave was. And from building the club to winning different cups and championships and shattering attendance records, she really brought it back to the fans, though, and how inspired they make her, and how the next generation has even more to reach for after things like this happen. You know, it wasn't possible. She was quoted saying this wasn't possible for 7-year-old Alex, and now it is. And seeing her daughter up there with her, it just gave me chills the whole time to see a legacy continue and little girls and boys be able to look at her as an example. So, um, additional stats was it was an absolute branding masterpiece. I can't help but be the brand nerd on this podcast. They had murals, they had giveaways, they had the merchandise, you know, and all of that actually went to supporting Alex Morgan, the Alex Morgan Foundation. So it's just really cool to see the full picture on how her heart and her legacy is reflected, not just in her achievements, but also in what the proceeds are going to. So in summary, it was incredible. It wasn't just a good ceremony. It was a cultural moment. I feel like I was there. I probably sound like I was there. I was not. But I loved it. And it celebrated a soccer legend and women's sports and soccer in general. So overall, 10 out of 10 ceremony.
We don't need to fact check you. We can Photoshop you into like the background of those photos and just start creating this like really lengthy like
Yeah,
backstory of how we've been at all of these events the whole time.
the whole time. I mean, we've got a great graphics team. I think that they can handle it for sure.
I mean, speaking of, so number 13, the jersey retirement for Alex Morgan, and kind of how we talked about leagues making it. This is a 13-year-old league with
hmm
two just like globally iconic stars that have, I think, set fire to the passions of little girls in the soccer world
Yeah,
across the world, and now have their jerseys up in their respective teams' rafters,
yeah.
and only more to come.
Yeah, absolutely. Only more to come and more jerseys to be seen up there. I mean, super cool for women's sports in general, but especially the NWSL.
We could just get super weird with it and then end up with people playing like in number 93, number like
Yeah,
62.
we're gonna go
Yeah.
into triple digits because everyone is getting retired. But now into some game score roundups. So we had the KC Current pull out a 2-0 victory over BFC. The key goal scorers were Michelle Cooper scoring the opening goal in the 45th minute, and Temwa
Chawinga.
Temwa Chawinga, I'm so sorry for butchering that name, added the final goal during stoppage time. Moving on to the North Carolina Courage versus the Utah Royals. They had a 1-1 draw with a dramatic equalizing goal in the final moments of the game. The Courage had a 89th minute goal by North Carolina midfielder Jaden Shaw, scored from a penalty kick. And then the Royals responded in the 94th minute during stoppage time when the team captain, Paige Monahan, scored off of a second chance effort following a corner kick. Man, that's a lot of time to play. I know they do it all the time, but as a former player, that is nonstop.
At the death, you got to play till the last second.
Yep, and it shows. It shows it. They pulled out the draw. The Royals also announced 2 notable roster changes on September 6th: the mutual contract termination of midfielder Michaela Clough and the release of midfielder Macy Frazier. Moving on to the Chicago Red Stars, they actually ended a 14-match winless streak in a dramatic fashion, debuting at their new home in Northwestern University's Martin Stadium with an electrifying 5-2 victory over Orlando Pride. Attendance was at 10,127, setting a new record for the club and even surpassing recent Northwestern football crowds. It's good to see people coming out to see the girls play. One of my favorite updates, Trinity Rodman is coming back in style, scoring in Washington Spirit's 2-0 win over Seattle Reign. This was her first full 90-minute match back of the season following her injury. She looked sharp. Her goals came in the 33rd and 81st minute, and she was assisted by Lacey Santos and Corey Bethune.
For those of you that want some fun, go check out after the match. Ben Shelton, Trinity Rodman's +1, as he's been branded, interviewed her, and I thought it was a really fun interview. So definitely look that one up.
I love the way that them as a couple specifically supports each other, and she's been at his matches, he comes to hers, and they're always in the media in such a positive way of supporting each other. It's just really fun to see. Okay. We already touched on the San Diego Wave game, but Houston Dash came out with a striking 3-0 upset. Clarissa Laressi stood out with both a goal and an assist for her first NWSL start. The result ended with Houston's unbeaten run on to 6 matches, while the wave of emotion in San Diego's ceremony definitely had a contrasting feeling.
I see what you did there. See what you did there.
Thank you.
It's at the point now, any good performance, especially if it's a young player, my initial thought is Kurt, call them. Just can we have them?
Yeah.
But then also now I'm thinking how sick would it be week by week to have a Clarissa Explains It All segment where Clarissa, new Summit signee, comes on and talks about that week's game.
Yeah, that would be
so
killer.
Kurt, Jen, we're really just covering both sides of the spectrum for you guys. Who to sign, how to brand them, we got you.
Yep, absolutely. And the final match roundup today is Gotham FC and Angel City. Gotham beat out Angel with 3-1. Rose Lavelle scored a decisive goal, her first of the season, as Gotham rallied after conceding pretty early. Additional scoring came from Jalen Howell and Gabby Portillo, while Kennedy Fuller had given Angel City an early lead.
So given those, had 19 match days now, Kaylee, I think we've got a pretty good firm grasp on what the playoff picture is going to look like. For the uninitiated, the NWSL runs a single table with the top 8 of their 14 teams making it to the postseason. Nominally next year, 50% top 8 of their 16 teams when Legacy and Summit come online. As of now, it seems KC Current, Washington Spirit, San Diego Wave, and Portland Thorns are virtual locks. No way they don't make the playoffs. Their current points per game have them finishing at 67, 48, 41, and 40, respectively. I don't see anyone touching those. Where it gets interesting is what happens in those 4 through 8 spots. If you're just going by projecting the points per game, the magic number right now is set by Racing Louisville in 36 points for the 8th place spot. That's going to be pretty comfortable for Orlando, Gotham, Seattle, and Louisville to just handle their business and get in. But if they at all fall off, Houston, Angel City, and North Carolina could still make a push and be those kind of playoff spoilers to get those last 2, maybe 3 spots. Bay FC theoretically could get there with a point to spare, but I wouldn't count on that. And we can all but rule out Chicago Stars and Utah Royals to start planning their off-season vacations. What's the NBA meme? It's see you in Cancun as soon as you get eliminated.
Yeah. I guess pros to both.
Yeah, it's not a bad thing. 26 games in, I wouldn't mind going straight to Cancun after disappointing.
After working hard, yeah.
Yeah. We'll go deeper in future episodes on the strength of schedule to see how much that bottom of the roster turn could play out. But I do want to just throw some shade and say that if I'm a Coloradan currently signed to a bottom of the table Chicago squad, I might be calling my agent from Cancun and seeing what sort of wiggle room I have for relocation next year.
Yep. No one in particular, but
Yeah.
I
No, no.
theoretically I would feel the
Yeah.
same way. And Matt, fun fact you might not know about me is I'm actually from Kentucky. So when I heard you say Louisville, I gotta correct you, my guy. It's Louisville. You gotta say it like you got some marbles in your mouth.
I think I said it 3 different ways and all 3 were wrong. This is like
Yeah.
we talked about pre-show.
Yeah.
Eastern Shore of Maryland, I cannot pronounce anything correctly.
Pronunciations are hard. There's a lot of grace here. So I
Yeah.
get it.
There's a documentary about islands in the Chesapeake Bay where basically extinct forms of linguistics are still at play, and so they're being studied by cultural anthropologists to figure out how those like phonemes and everything are still exist there.
Huh. That's super interesting. I haven't heard about that yet. Okay, pause. Okay, so now how do we wrap that part up? Maybe I'll add in. Well, before I can cheer for a team for Denver, I'm hoping that Louisville can pull through or something like that to like
All
wrap
right.
that up. That way
Yeah.
we have a clean exit. Sorry, I'm trying to think of
No,
how to
you're good.
wrap up that part. That's super interesting. Well, before I have a full roster team to cheer for here in Denver, I'm kind of pulling through for Lou City. That's the boys team. Dang it, redo.
Who's not from Kentucky now?
Lou City is their name. Okay. Okay. That's super interesting, Matt. Well, before I actually have a team fully rostered here to cheer for in Denver, I'm kind of hoping that Racing Louisville pulls through a little bit more. I'm excited to see what they do with the rest of the season.
Well, we'll hope for hot browns and no Hail Marys, and that they continue to keep their spot in the playoff race.
Yes.
But until then, let's move on to our featured guest for the week. This is really exciting. We got Councilwoman Flor Alvidrez to agree to come on and have a conversation with us. Excitedly so, I think you'll see once you listen to the conversation. But like we said at the top of the show, for those uninitiated, District 7 encompasses Santa Fe Yards, the home of the future permanent stadium for Denver Summit FC. Again, the temporary stadium is set to open next year down in Centennial for 2 years. But Flor had everything to say about her love for the district. We talk about pregame spots, what it means to have a physical stadium, how the team and community will blend, and it's a great conversation. So without further ado, let's launch into that.
Hey, Summoners, Sarah Fattori here. You might recognize my voice from our sister podcast, The Pidcast. But today I'm here on Sum It Up and joined by my co-host, Matt. As we get closer to the kickoff of the newest NWSL franchise, our very own Denver Summit FC, we're continuing our interview series to bring together the community and its stakeholders around this endeavor. We're thrilled today to have a conversation with one of Summit's first, biggest day one supporters and the leader behind the future home of women's soccer here in the Mile High City. I will pass it over to Matt to introduce our guest.
We have the esteemed councilwoman from District 7, which, if you don't know, will be the future home of Santa Fe Yards and the permanent stadium for Denver Summit FC. She is also a Denver native and very passionate about the city. I'd like to welcome to the show Councilwoman Flor Alvidrez.
Matt, thank you so much for having me. This is a very exciting conversation.
Excellent. So Councilwoman Alvidrez, we always like to start our conversations by getting to know the humans behind the titles and the subject matters. As such, we'd love to hear in your words who Flor Alvidrez is.
So outside of work, what I do really enjoy is gardening, which is great in the summer, not in the winter. So I also consider myself an artist. I paint. I also, little known fact is I'm part of an improv theater group, but it's not like the funny kind of improv theater. It is a social justice theater, but it's very fulfilling work, and I've been a theater nerd my whole life.
You are
You're in good
speaking
company.
our language.
2 theater nerds right with you right now.
You want to go ahead and
Perfect. I
pitch
knew
it?
this was
What
for a
is?
reason. Go
Do
ahead.
you want to go ahead and pitch it? What is the improv group?
Modus Theater. So we do a lot. We used to do a lot more in Boulder. It was based out of Boulder. There's a whole group of different performances that we do. So some are for our transgender theater group, and then social justice, and then we have some Dreamers DACA recipients that do their own theater, and it's been really meaningful, especially right now with the climate. They did one recently around immigration and invited the Colorado Asian Pacific United group and some African immigrants to kind of play back their theater. So how it works is like you would tell me how you're feeling or your life experience, and what we do is play back that experience or those feelings and emotions. So it really helps people feel seen and connect on like a really deep way.
Oh, that's really cool.
Yeah,
And
I'll
I
have to
I have
invite
to
you out
ask,
to a performance.
we'll put it you send us anything, we will put it on blast and promote it everywhere we can. Since you mentioned painting, I have to ask the backdrop behind you, is that one of your pieces?
That is not my piece, no,
Oh,
unfortunately.
fair enough. Well, it's cool nonetheless.
Thank you.
So, you don't just represent Denver in District 7. You're very much like woven into this place and the parts around it. You want to talk a little bit about your upbringing in Southwest Denver?
Sure. So I was born at St. Joseph's Hospital and brought home to Athmar Park, where I still live, where I'm recording from right now, which is very close to the home of the future stadium. I grew up and it was a very working class neighborhood, like a lot of areas. The values have gone up a little bit, but it's still one of the most affordable areas in Denver. There's a lot of Denver Housing Authority properties in this area, so that's extremely low income for people that have a need for housing. And I went to Valverde Elementary School, which is really close and will be really close by. And the kiddos in that school definitely have a lot of issues like food insecurity and having their basic needs met. We were always considered high risk youth. I still don't understand exactly risk of what, but it's an area of a lot of need, an area with things like food insecurity is a big issue in this area and just housing security. So my father is a Mexican immigrant. My mother ended up in Denver because her mom joined the Air Force. So a lot of people end up here because of the Air Force. So my grandma was based at Lowry Air Force Base. Then she got moved to an Air Force base in Kansas. When my dad immigrated to the US, he immigrated to Kansas. And my mom was like, look, I lived somewhere else that was way better than here. So if we're going to do this and get married and start a family, let's move back to Denver. It's like her best life experience. I think she was in high school when she was here. And so they chose to start a family here, which I am so grateful for.
Just because you mentioned your dad being from Mexico, are there any Liga MX teams that you root for? I'm asking specifically from the Summit side of things because our second signed player, Lourdes Bosch, will be playing in the Liga MX Femenil for Monterrey until she kicks off here at the Summit.
So absolutely, that will be the team.
Done.
Yes,
Easiest sell ever. The
absolutely.
Team
Yeah.
Monterrey.
I actually have family in Monterrey, so that's great.
Excellent. Well, to mind the adage of knowing where you've been to know where you're going, you kind of talked about this a bit, but can you give listeners kind of a history lesson on District 7?
Yeah. It's definitely has always been kind of a working class area, even though Wash Park is known for being a very wealthy area. Originally, a lot of the housing was built for the workers at the Gates Rubber Factory. So the Gates Rubber Factory is on the same site that the future stadium will be. And it was a great opportunity for jobs. Many, many jobs were there. And before that, obviously, it was farms. So this was farmlands. And then before that, obviously, we have indigenous ancestors that have strong roots to this area and to the Platte River in general. And our city council logo has a bison because One fun fact is that the bison used to travel down the river to Wash Park. So Smith Lake was originally formed as a bison wallow.
Oh, wow.
So that's kind of a little
That's
history
cool.
there. But back to this Gates site, um, it was very contaminated. One of my first jobs outside of my family business was at a U.S. bank that was on Mississippi and Broadway. And I got to see the Gates rubber factories sit there for a long time as they worked to get out things like asbestos and all kinds of other things. And then they demolished it and they had to move the dirt around. And there's a plume underground of toxins that are being cleared out every day. There's right now there is a plant that is cleaning that out every day. And so it has created a divide in the neighborhood. Not only that, but the highway, the South Valley Highway, which we know as I-25, took out a lot of homes and divided communities along with the train tracks. It was kind of like the west side was the less important side where people didn't really matter as much. And so redlining happened in the area, which meant low-income families could live in that area. I mentioned Denver Housing Authority has properties in this area, so they concentrated poverty in the west side, and we lost resources. There was a grocery store when my parents were young, and that went away eventually. But over time, it did become more segregated. And that's one reason why I'm excited about this project. It is very dangerous to cross from the west side of my district to the east side of my district. In fact, Dr. Cog, which is Denver Regional Council of Governments, did a study on traffic safety, and one of the most dangerous intersections is Mississippi and Santa Fe, right where this site will be. And so we're really excited to get access to things like the light rail and be able to cross to the other side of the city and access the city in a much safer way, access to things like grocery stores. So it's very exciting, not just for the Women's Soccer League, but to actually be able to get around in a safe way.
Absolutely. That's something that we actually had been talking about when we're looking at the map of that area is like it could be super central to a lot of existing businesses in the area and a really great opportunity to connect those businesses to like pregame experiences. But it's hard to imagine what it looks like right now to even walk to that stadium from almost any business in the area because of that crossing.
Yeah. It's almost like an island. So you have I-25 highway, Santa Fe highway, train tracks, not fun to cross. And then you have Mississippi, which is an underpass under the railroad. So yeah, it's very hard to imagine how people are going to get there right now.
And hasn't not been in construction for like 5 years. So
Right.
I
It's
love
just
that area.
dirt lot.
For sure. Well, speaking, you talked a little bit about the history there, but coming back to like now, what is the current socio-cultural makeup of District 7?
So the West Side definitely has a very international background, which has been a lot of fun talking about women's soccer. I was able to talk to Mimi and her husband over at the Far East Center. If you haven't been there on Alameda and Federal, there's this really cool Far East Center that has Labubu, which is like all the rage right now. So you have to be living under a rock to not know what that is, but Google it if you don't know. Anyway, I was talking to them. How does the Vietnamese community, Chinese community feel about this? And turns out, not to be very shocked, is that people in Vietnam love soccer and are professional soccer players. And so turns out that a lot of my neighbors have played soccer or their parents played soccer. And we also have a lot of Mexican immigrants like my father and others. And obviously this was part of Mexico at one point, so that's to be expected. But now we have a lot of new Venezuelan neighbors. And it's just so beautiful to think about something that everyone connects with to be there. And then the the east side of the district is definitely a little bit more affluent, wealthy, but still a little multicultural. A lot of Latino families are able to live there and a lot of white families as well. So everyone's excited to kind of get across. I think when I think about what you mentioned about the restaurants and things, lots of great restaurants on Broadway, of course, but to be able to access the West Side, which has a lot of pho and dim sum and tacos and things that you may not as easily find on Broadway, was really exciting.
I love that you brought up the Far East Center. I'm particularly a pho doi guy. My partner and I, we go get fun salted lemonade down there all the time. And then I
Matt
know
and
it's
I, oh, sorry, I was jumping in.
go
Matt and I
ahead.
both live west side. He's north and I'm south. So you're speaking our language. Federal is the uniting force for us.
Yeah, I'm right there, like Spear and Federal at that corner.
And
Oh,
I'm, I
nice.
think, like 5 blocks out of your district. I'm at like Federal and Yale, but
Oh, very
west of
close. Yeah.
Federal. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yep.
Yeah. So that's near Fuddoy. That is a really great pho place, but there's a lot of really great pho places. I'm not allowed to say my favorite.
Yeah. No,
I don't think
don't go on
I don't
record.
think we can handle the controversy. You don't need that controversy, and Sum It Up doesn't need that controversy. We're not taking official positions.
All right. So just to kind of recap for listeners, District 7 is roughly bordered north to south via 6th Avenue and Dartmouth Avenue, east to west by Downing Street and Federal Boulevard. Can you give us, I mean, you've already started to, can you give us kind of the flyover tour of District 7? Like I know there's Houston Lake Park, Ruby Hill Park, Far East Center.
Yeah. So if you want to start on that end, we start on Broadway with Swallow Hill, which is a great music venue and music school. So
Can we
that's
just
part of
talk about
District
how
7.
this is? I live at Swallow Hill. I am there. Not kidding. I am there 3 times a week for music lessons. It's all of my favorite people. I'm so glad that you started with that.
I love that. We just worked to get a crosswalk because one side is Inglewood and one side is Denver. So if you notice, there's like a crosswalk there now. That was like one of the first things that I did where I was like, I'm making a difference. Small
That's
but
amazing.
mighty. I mean, crossing the
Amazing.
street because there are parking lots in Inglewood.
Oh,
and they're
that's
in
so
Denver.
funny.
Oh.
Yeah.
Because, oh my gosh, that totally makes sense. That's wild. You have me convinced you have the best district in Denver. But to convince the rest of the listeners, please
Yeah.
keep going.
So music is a big part of our district, I would say, because then we have Ruby Hill Park, which has Levitt Pavilion, which has even bilingual yoga this Saturday. I don't know when this is airing, but they have a lot of different cultural events too. So talking about bringing bridges, like random bands that I've never heard of that might be someone else's favorite. And one of my favorite memories is watching John Legend there. I'm a huge John Legend fan, and that was just like, wow, John Legend is like in my neighborhood. That's amazing. So we have Levitt Pavilion at Ruby Hill Park, which is also a former Superfund site. So that was a dumping ground, a landfill. So there's a lot of history of dumping on the west side of garbage. And I believe a lot of the garbage that was dumped at Ruby Hill came from the Federal Center on 6th Avenue in Lakewood. And then you do have Houston Lake Park. The spine of District 7 is definitely the river. So we have the South Platte River Trail, and then we have Overland Golf Course, and we have Harvard Gulch. And as we work our way up Broadway, then we have all of Broadway, like all of South Broadway is in District 7, which is amazing. So you have everything from Luke's Pet Store with some really great local food, and the Mayan Theater, like best date nights on Broadway for sure. We also have great restaurants. Mac Fam is the new one that has a Michelin star. And so you have all of South Broadway. We actually go all the way up to 10th. So we have Luca and Trader Joe's, and we're about to have 2 Trader Joe's in District 7. So we have Trader Joe's in Capitol Hill, and the Trader Joe's that will be coming in Platt Park near Louisiana and I-25. So that means a lot to a lot of people. Grocery stores are great, and Trader Joe's is a great one. So you have all South Broadway all the way to Washington Park, and then you have a few light rail stations. So you have the Broadway station, which will be right by where the summit will be, and the Alameda Light Rail Station. You have the Baker neighborhood, a historic old neighborhood that has these really beautiful older homes, a lot of rich history there, a lot of immigrant communities landed there, and then the LGBTQ community really revitalized that area, looking for a place where they could feel welcome. And of course, you go all the way to Federal, which has, again, back to the pho, back to the heart of the district, the pho. So that's a quick overview of the district. And we also, this was the last year, but the Underground Music Showcase, we're going to try and revive it some way. It might just not be as big, but we really hope it stays on Broadway.
You mentioned so many of my favorites. I'll shout on the rooftop for all that we will hear. Levitt Pavilion is one of the coolest cultural resources of any city I've ever lived in. The the multicultural festivals, the breadth of live acts that you can see for free at Levitt. And then even if you don't get the tickets, like take your dog, sit outside the fence. You can see the sunset, the downtown. It's absolutely beautiful. And then Mac Fam, one of my best friends, helped open that. Those folks
Oh,
are
wow.
such good people, and that food is so delicious.
Well, kind of switching back to the soccer side of things, can you give us a little bit of insight on what you know? How did the Santa Fe Yards get identified as a potential spot for the stadium?
I think when you talk about creating a stadium, this might be a little getting into the weeds, but you typically want to have a metro district. So, a district that helps fund a lot of the infrastructure and things. So, I think they were looking for areas that were big enough, even though this is a much smaller stadium than people are used to seeing. Um, and so, I think that was a factor. But a number one factor also was how are people going to get there? And so the Broadway Station light rail station is the number 2 busiest RTD stop in the whole RTD system. So Union Station's number 1 and Broadway Station's number 2. I think it's because you do have the line coming from the south and you have the other line coming from, well, they're both kind of south. South I-25 and then South Broadway line that goes to Inglewood. So most of the lines go through there to get to downtown. So how people can get to the station was something that was really important. And I think they wanted to be in a city. They wanted to be in the city of Denver to show that women deserve to have a stadium in a major city. And they deserve their own stadium.
Yeah, I thought that was such a statement of intent, both from the summit side of things, but also the city side of things, the community and municipal investment in women, in women's sports, and that representation. Were there other sites in District 7 that had gotten looked at, other sites around the city that were in the running?
I do believe there were some other sites, maybe in Northeast Denver near I-70, and perhaps they were looking at Burnham Yard, which is now a potential site for the Broncos. So I do think they had options, and they definitely didn't just stick to Denver. But I'm really happy that they chose Lucky District 7, and we're really trying to make that happen. I know they have some tight deadlines as well, but we're really positive about it.
I think that I'm gonna something you said brought up another question for me when we're talking about this investment in women's sports. I think it's been a really interesting time for Denver when it came to spending generally. We've seen citywide layoffs, and big conversations about the decision to invest in this stadium. Do you want to talk a little bit about what that process is for you and how do you meet the needs of the times when there's a lot of new demands on the city while also investing in something big, shiny, and new that's going to bring a lot of joy?
Yes, that's a really great question. And definitely when we first passed this, we weren't aware quite where our budget is, and we're still, working on projections for where 2025 will land. The thing to know is that capital improvement funds are only for capital projects. So the funds that are going to this project are only allowed to go to capital. So they wouldn't be able to go to city staff. It's been a really hard time at the city to lose all of these amazing humans that have done so much for the city for so many years and to have built those relationships. I think specifically of the Office of Children's Affairs, like finding out who the nonprofits are and building those relationships is really hard work, and we're losing a lot of that at the moment. But I think when you do hit hard economic times, one thing the council really looked at when they were voting on this was what is the return that we're going to get? What is the benefit? For me, it's what's the benefit to the community around them, right? So we also have to provide benefits to our constituents. But 2, it's the economic generation. So when I talk to the restaurants in that far end of South Broadway, they feel really cut off because once you pass I-25 going South Broadway, a lot of people don't continue their way down South Broadway. So the businesses on the far South Broadway have felt like, what are you doing for us? How are you going to bring more economy towards us? How are you going to make it feel safer to walk and bike all the way down Broadway so that people don't just go to I-25 and hang out in that area of Broadway, which is amazing. So it's hard for those other businesses. So the idea is that by having this investment and partnering with the team that this will be a catalyst for investment in the area and support those businesses, because we are losing a lot of restaurants. We're losing small businesses all the time. And how do we create opportunity? By investment. And it's not every day that you get this savvy group of investors willing to invest in our city in this way.
Yeah, and that we actually were excited to ask you about that generally. Are there other economic impacts of the stadium in the area? I think you spoke about business being brought in, but things like housing and other investments that you anticipate this will bring into District 7?
Yes, so the site for the stadium is 9 acres, and the site for the Gates Rubber Factory is hundreds of acres. And so the hope is that this will, because we're going to build more bridges and connectivity, that those other dirt lots, that some of them are owned, some of them have concept plans submitted to the city, that they will feel the support that if I do invest in building an apartment building on this dirt lot, people are going to be able to get there. Just as you said earlier, when you think about that site, you also have to think about how are you even going to get to that site. So creating that connectivity will hopefully build more housing in that entire dirt lot, which it's really massive. If you get the opportunity to go see it, it's just so much waste of space and a valuable transit corridor. As far as other economic development, another thing I think of is like, I'm a single mom. We have some services in the area for single moms. We have Warren Village, which is so what they do is they help women who are escaping domestic violence, a lot of single parents. They provide them housing and then they help them get a job. I've talked to some of the women who have graduated from their programs. They get an education and they actually have a career, and it's usually their dream career. So it's not like they're just helping them get jobs at McDonald's. They're helping them get jobs in the careers that they've always wanted. The last event I went to, I met a young woman who her dream was to be a veterinarian. And so she's pursuing that and was able to get a certification, and now she's working in that. We also have the Women's Bean Project. And so what I hope is that we find ways to work together to support women in the district and have things like childcare. We don't have a lot of childcare facilities in the district. And how do we support our youth? So I believe that not only will it help our local small businesses, it could help our nonprofits and the infrastructure we have to support women and families in this area of the city, which has always historically not been there.
That's a really good segue into our next question. One of my favorite parts about Jefferson Park is that a lot of the Denver Nuggets live in the neighborhood due to proximity to Ball Arena. So seeing Jamal Murray stroll by a pickup soccer game, or seeing Bowl above the aisle in the Safeway at 26th and Federal, and I said that correctly, seeing Bowl above the aisle. And then friends that have lived in Athmar Park and Wash Park always talked about before he moved down to Cherry Hills that you could see Jokic and his brothers playing tennis over in Wash Park. How do you, the organization Summit FC, make Athmar, Wash, Platt Park attractive to be live workspaces for the players and personnel that are going to come in and fill this roster and fill those jobs in the team?
That's very exciting. And another thing I do think about that I want to name is like young people being able to see that there's other jobs in sports and what are these jobs and careers. So connecting them to that. But making sure that we have the housing available is definitely a priority. And with those empty lots, we can definitely build high rises and condos and other things. But it is also one of the most affordable areas to buy a single family home. So it would be amazing to see some superstars at Huston Lake Park or Wash Park walking around, or Platt Park. Very great areas. I think that in general, Platt Park, Washington Park area, even Rosedale Harvard Gulch have a lot of things that make them very attractive, including libraries and obviously great parks. And so I'm hopeful that all this connectivity will be a great place where people will consider to come live and be our neighbors.
Thanks. And on a similar note, we're thinking game day experience, how can that experience of, 14,000 plus fans weekly throughout the season, be the most positive neighboring experience? What can that experience be like?
I would hope that people would come early, with that public transit or on a bike. Also, the Platte River Trail goes right by. So thinking about how you're going to get there is going to be important because there probably isn't going to be a lot of parking on the site. and come early and enjoy a great meal in District 7, enjoy great weather in Colorado. I would hope that we would also find ways to connect the neighboring community with these events, inviting the schools, inviting these nonprofits in the district. So I mentioned Warren Village. I mentioned the Women's Bean Project. Habitat Humanity is headquartered in District 7. And we have Urban Peak Shelter for Youth, which is for young people that are experiencing homelessness, all the way up to the age of 24, I believe, maybe 26. And so how do we connect them also? Because something that's important to me is I don't want to feel like this is something foreign coming into our neighborhood. I want it to feel like part of our community and really integrate neighbors feeling like they have a place there, as well as welcoming new people to our wonderful neighborhood.
Okay, you can probably give us the inside scoop because we were just talking about this. The 14ers, the supporters group, invited us, and we were all at DNVR bar a couple weekends ago to celebrate the unveiling of the supporters group brand. And then we were talking about what locations can we start making an outpost around the stadium for the years until the permanent stadium is built. So we were thinking of places that we could have watch parties, that once the Centennial temporary stadium opens, that we could get together at that location in District 7 and then bus down to Centennial. So what bars, what coffee houses, what restaurants, breweries, where should we try and put down roots to get ready for 2028?
I love that. Well, I mentioned the event on September 11th that the soccer team in the parks are having. That's at Burn Down. That's an amazing location. Desert Social is a great local bar that has a lot of events. And they also were featured, I believe, on Love is Blind. So you might see them in the Denver episode.
Ooh.
That's some District 7
Spoilers.
tea. Also, yes. And then Joy Hill Pizza, great pizza place. Also, they have a rooftop that has a jaw-dropping view of the mountains, which also Burn Down has an amazing view of the mountains.
Nice.
But Joy Hill has like the charcuterie, all the things. And then if you want like a real Denver classic dive kind of bar, Rome's in Athmar Park has been like a staple for a long, long time. So it's definitely should be on the list. And then I think of Wings and Burgers on Mississippi. They will serve you. I don't know if either of you like tacos, but there's a
Mhm.
taco called al pastor, which is like pork layered with pineapple. So when you go to Wings and Burgers, they actually bring you your own what's called a trompo. So if you ever see like a big stick with a bunch of meat outside of a taqueria, like that is the al pastor tacos. So they'll bring you your own trompo, like your own stick with all the meat on it for your tacos. So Wings and Burgers is a very popular, very big place in District 7. What else? There's so many. Adelitas. Adelitas is already packed at all times because the food there is literally so good. So that might be a hard one to have a watch party at. The Roxy is on Broadway as well. I think we'll probably get more because there has been some turnover in the area. But that's a good starting point for where you could have some watch parties.
I love it. Sarah was a huge proponent of Burn Down. I was in love with Rome's as a
Mm.
location, so I think we've split a little
Oh,
bit
you
here.
know about Rome's. I'm
Yeah,
impressed for
I
only
want to
being
go
in
play
Denver 5
shuffleboard and watch
years.
games there.
Awesome. That's great. Now you gotta also try out Wings and Burgers now. You haven't been there
Yeah.
yet,
I have
right?
to protect my reputation a little bit because I am not a big fan of Burn Down. I was a South Broadway girly for years. I am Hornet and Berries, which now that it's St. Mary's, even better through and through. So please do not tarnish my reputation. But no, it's
Because
fun. And I
rest
think
in
that
peace, Hornet, unfortunately, for
I
now.
know,
Yeah.
I know.
We are losing.
I
That's
mean,
why I'm saying we're losing a lot of our great local staples. And another thing I'll say, as someone that comes from a small business background, most of my career has been spent in my family's construction small business. The next generation doesn't always want to take over the business, and sometimes businesses like evolve and close, and sometimes business owners get exhausted. As soon as I stepped away from our family business, my dad was like, well, maybe I don't need to do this anymore because it is so much work to run a small business.
I hear
absolutely.
that. I think one of the things that I've been trying to process with like the Hornet closing, especially because that was the whole time I was at school, they had a late night happy hour that was so cheap. Like that's how I afforded to eat for like my
And
last year of law school, I
the
swear.
best drive-through in Denver.
Oh no.
Too
Uh,
soon?
but
Wait,
you know,
now
part
that
of
you
what
say that, I also wanted to mention Chain Reaction Brewery in districts in Athmar Park. Definitely
Mhm.
have to name that one. And also Stella's Coffee Shop is like such a staple for those late night college students that are studying.
nice.
So obviously South Pearl Street is amazing. It's a little bit expensive for just anybody. And yeah, but has some great coffee shops. Steam Coffee Shop's really good too. We don't have a lot of coffee shops on the west side, but Table Public House, that should also be on your list.
Nice.
I love that
Well,
one. Yeah. Go ahead, Matt.
Sarah, okay. So speaking of the neighbors, we asked Jen Millay, the president of Summit FC, this same question in our interview with her. So we'll now turn and ask to you, how can we make sure the overall impact of Denver Summit FC isn't just catered to the more affluent and white neighborhoods east of the location, like Platt and Wash Park, but that the stakeholding, equity, access, and representation encompasses the more Latino, uh, Asian, traditionally underinvested neighborhoods in the West, like Athmar Park?
First of all, thank you for asking that question because it's something that I'm very passionate about and that at the moment we're still far away, but I already see a difference. And it's not to the fault of the ownership group. It's just that it's very hard to organize people that are working, maybe 2 jobs and trying to put food on their table. Do they even want or have time to make it out there? Even though I think, of course, they would want to. So how do we do that? And I think going through our youth is a really great way. So staying involved with our youth. I know we've been trying to connect them with like Valverde Elementary School, Godsman, Goldrick, making sure that they connect with those schools because that's a place where the parents, and honestly, if you're a parent, you're going to make time. You always figure out a way to make time for the things that are important to your child. So I think talking to the young people in this area, involving them, those nonprofits I mentioned, also Warren Village, obviously single parents. So how do we involve them in these job opportunities or the young people? And so I think that they really need to think about providing tickets to the local community. When years ago, there was this music festival that was a little controversial that took over Overland Golf Course, Grandoozy, and they did work with the neighborhood. They did give the neighborhood some free tickets and shared some of the revenue with the neighborhood. So I think that my hope is that with the community benefits process, that they will talk through that and hear the needs from community. But I will say it's really hard to get community active to say, what are your needs? What does that look like? Especially right now when people are afraid of being profiled and being afraid of being kidnapped or taken out of the country. And so there's a lot of concern around what does that look like and how can we support people. But I find that as part of my job too, since I live out here on the west side, is talking to the local schools, meeting with them, talking to my neighbors, inviting them to games, and getting them just as excited as anybody else about this coming to our area, which it is a lot of work because I think there is a dominant culture and it's not always easy to feel welcome when you're surrounded by a bunch of people that don't speak your language or don't look like you. It's just a fact. So I think organizing groups to go at the same time or going with community will be a key part of that to make sure that people feel welcome. And the thing is, a lot of immigrant communities specifically, you have to invite them. You can't just post it on social media because they're going to see that and think like that is not for me. That's for like those people. That's not me, whoever those people are. And so you have to go out of your way to invite them and invite them several times to really make them feel welcome. I hope that there's like bilingual signage, that there is just a real representation in the way they present themselves that doesn't present in that way. Because although soccer is such an international thing that so many people have personal ties to, I do think historically in Denver, it has been seen as a very wealthy sport because it is expensive. My son loves soccer. He wanted to play. It was very expensive. And when parents have to weigh paying for all of these fees, paying for the uniforms, it's just inaccessible to a lot of people. So it's a long conversation that we're going to have, and it takes a lot of work.
That's such a heartfelt point on the soccer access thing, which it always baffles me. Like, it's a sport that originated out of the sheer simplicity of materials and space to play, and we've raised up so many barriers to entry that I would argue press out our most talented soccer players. And then that comment I just want to drill down on the comment you made. Invitational versus available are two different things when it comes to building community. And I hope everyone that listens to this, and we'll pitch that to the Summit front office as well, is like, you need to be invitational. You need to meet people where they are, not just tell them the gates are open.
Yeah, and I think having people that are liaisons with that community, that's their specific job, which I think is their intention to have that. And I think about connecting with people that already have built trust and already have these relationships. I think of Mari Avalos with Casas Soccer Club for Kids. I actually had a really good friend that started a soccer club for low income Latino kids. It was on 6th Avenue. I think the soccer ball is still there if you drive
Oh,
west
nice.
on 6th Avenue, but it's no longer there. It was really hard to make it pencil. It's hard to make these things work because it is expensive. I mean, just having space is expensive. So I am excited for people to have access to a soccer stadium, even if it's, here and there. One of the things that I've learned is about the timing of the field. And so making sure that it's continuously used by soccer is important. But what does that look like? How do we make sure to keep inviting people even when they can't come is a big part of that conversation.
I think there was a part in the renderings for the stadium that I fell in love with, and I hope is the intent and how it's carried out. But the current rendering for the stadium is a horseshoe with that west side open, and the way it looks is that the open end is at eye level with the park immediately adjacent to it, and then to an extent across the river to Vanderbilt Park, and that having a green and public space, much like I like watching concerts outside of the fence at Levitt Pavilion, because it's more casual. It's less committal. Like, having that so people can come in and they can see the soccer still there, and then at their pace or at their inclusion level, then kind of buy into the stadium. You know.
Yes, and I did hear Rob Cohen talk about that once, and he said that was very intentional and that he is committed to being allowed to see into the stadium, which is something that reminds me, back in the day at Mile High Stadium for the Broncos, there was that big hotel where well, you have we're here, but there was a big hotel you could see in, which still means you're paying something to see into it, but they purposely built the new stadium to back that one so you can't see in. Um, and so this is a beautiful way, and that's a beautiful commitment to the community, is to be able to make it feel like you might be able to watch from the outside is a beautiful thing.
Yeah, I mean, Sarah, I don't know if you did this, but I couldn't afford tickets to the Eras tour, so my partner Allie and I just sat on the grass by Mile High and listened to the 3 hour Taylor Swift concert.
Those were
Listen,
pricey.
Yeah.
I had a friend who I swear it was witchcraft. She was able to get tickets through the Ticketmaster. I think we paid like $140 a ticket to go to that show. So sorry, but I was inside.
But it's funny that you mentioned that about Levitt, because when John Legend came, I actually bought tickets to sit inside the fence, but it was so close that I was like, I'm just going to sit outside. I had my son with me so that I didn't have to worry about being as crowded with other people, and it was just as good of a show.
Well, and I think
Yeah.
like what makes this conversation so fun is like we all have these like really vibrant memories of parts, like places in your district. Like as you were talking about that, I was remembering a friend I introduced me to Celso Pina, and I went and saw the show there, and he died like I think like a week later, and it was like the last opportunity to see him, and like that has been something he and I have reflected back on, of like how amazing to see this artist in community at a free show in our backyards. It beautiful. So I'm excited for what this stadium can be, and the memories that all of these kids are going to have at the stadium, right? The same way that we cherish a lot of memories in the same community.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely. One of the questions that came up early on was Levitt going to support this? And they're totally supportive of it. They're like, more venues, the better. We can work together. We can partner. We can figure it out. So that is really great to have their support.
I'm so excited for that first double activity of seeing a Summit game and strolling or biking over to Levitt for a concert.
Oh my gosh.
Peak
Yes.
Denver.
A District 7 doubleheader.
Yeah.
I'm in. Um, well, when we asked a similar question about inclusive community to Jen, she talked about the community benefits agreement. Can you speak to a little bit about what that is and the process behind it?
Yeah. So a lot of times when there's what's called a rezoning, the developer will come to us with a community benefit agreement. And so that's an agreement that is made between the community and the ownership group or developer. The most recent high profile one was for the Ball Arena rezoning. So all their parking lot was zoning changed to be able to go back to being housing, which is interesting because it was a neighborhood before it was a parking lot. Um, but so they are working through that. There are some facilitators, and we're really grateful. So the Gates family that owned the Gates Rubber Factory started a foundation, and they've been able to donate some funds to the community to support their efforts to do things like pay people for their meal or for showing up to the meetings, which is something you have to do in low-income communities to have them show up and advocate for themselves. So that agreement will be made between the community and the ownership group, and that will come before the city council so that my colleagues can see and have buy-in into voting for that rezoning so that they know there's some commitment back to the community of how they're going to be a good neighbor. And because they're getting city funds. So there's a couple reasons. Like, it's a large development, they're getting public funds for the development. So it's part of them showing a good faith effort to involve the community, and nonprofits and everyone should be a part of that.
Has there been anything top of mind for you or that you've heard from your constituents and community that they absolutely want included in that CBA?
You know, I don't think I could speak to that. There is like a gray area where I'm voting on something and I can't be asking for anything, so I don't want any weird perception. But it is, supposed to be the community and them. But I do know that what the community has talked about is, one, they want it to happen. Number one. Number two, they've talked about wanting to make sure that they do have the mobility and safety, and that traffic while they get home is important, and all of those things. So those are some of the things I know they're probably talking about. But as far as key little details, I can't say much.
Well, I think if I remember correctly from that council meeting, I was in attendance. I believe both you and Councilwoman Gonzalez Gutierrez talked about safe, lit green spaces for kids, particularly in Athmar Park, to play, to have more of those available. So we'll champion that in the CBA, even if you're not
Love
allowed to
that.
comment on anything.
No comment.
Well, I think this wraps up our sum it up soccer kind of questions, but I have some fun Denver questions for you if you're open for them.
All right. Yeah, shoot.
So first one, just because Matt and I have disagreed on this in other interviews, what is your favorite ice cream in Denver?
Ooh, that is tough. I have to pick one.
Yeah.
Well, okay. There is a place called Dos Mangos. It is next to like the boba shops, like between Mississippi and South. Wait, no, it's actually between Mississippi and Alameda. So between Mississippi and Alameda, there is an ice cream shop. And the reason it's a Mexican ice cream shop.
On Federal?
On Federal, yes. The reason I like the Mexican ice cream shops is because they have fresh fruit that they cut up, and also other things. So they do things like, if you have potato chips, they put all kinds of different crazy toppings on top of them. And one of my favorite things is the mango chamoy. So they'll give you like mango with chamoy all over it. So that one is probably number one. Number two is definitely Sweet Action on Federal. I mean, on Broadway, that one's really good too. But being able to also get other snacks, because as someone that's trying to watch their health, when my son wants ice cream, I don't always want to have ice cream. I rather have like some fresh fruit. They also do juicing at a lot of them. There's another good one on 6th and Federal that has like all of the juices: beet juice, carrot juice, celery juice, like all the juices. And you also have ice cream and chips and all the other things. So now you
Oh,
have to
man.
tell me what yours are.
I'm
Well,
I'm
because
a sweet action girl.
Nice.
Yeah.
Delicious.
I'm a super nerd. I like the Earl Grey shortbread cookie ice cream at High Point Creamery. I know. I didn't think I was gonna like it when I first tried it. Now it's like my favorite thing as far as ice cream. But something that you brought to mind when you were talking about Los Mangos is I play a lot of pickup soccer at Kepner Middle School down on South Federal. And I might butcher the word, so I apologize. The Zacatecas, the push
Yes.
popsicle carts.
You said it right. Yes.
Yeah, there's a guy that will come around and he always knows right when we're about to end the game. And so he'll ring the bell, we'll hear it, and we'll be like, all right, this is a good time to stop playing, get some popsicles. So I want Summit to make sure that there's a popsicle cart that goes around the stadium
Yes, we
for
call them
that
paletas.
experience.
So
Paletas?
absolutely a paleta cart, 100%.
Yes.
The horchata is really good. The rice one that's like
Mm.
horchata flavored. The nuez one is really good. My son likes the strawberry. But those are also really amazing. Paletas are amazing. Sweet Action is amazing. One of my favorite regular ice cream, not regular ice cream flavors, but like the other places is the ube ice cream. Have you tried that one? It's so good.
No,
It's
what's that?
purple. It's like a purple potato, but the ube ice cream is really good.
Where is that, or where do you get that?
I get it. There's a small ice cream shop next to Denver Beer Co. out on Downing.
Okay.
So yeah, that's
Well, now
another
we're gonna have to
local
do
find.
our
There's a lot of them.
we'll have to do our District 7 tour where we check out all the bars you suggested and the ice cream you suggested to figure out our game
Yes,
day
the ice
plan.
cream.
Okay, another
Houston Lake
question.
Park is a great place to come to that guy. Yeah.
And again, this is another where you have to pick. Are you a team Blucifer, or are you the big blue bear?
Oh my gosh. Wow, I never thought I'd be asked that question.
We come with the hard
I'm gonna
questions
go.
here.
Yeah, no kidding. I think I'm gonna go with Lucifer because I just like to travel. So like when I go to the airport, I'm already in a great mood. So it's also, very eerie story. So it goes with the whole DIA conspiracy. But yeah, I'll go with Lucifer.
Okay, I'll extrapolate that question because I don't remember the exact measure, but something about like 1% of all like building costs have to go to some sort of arts display. If you were going to put a big blue animal at Santa Fe Yards betwixt Athmar and Wash and Platte Parks, what would you pick?
Oh, that one's easy. Bison. It's what's been
I
in the
figured.
area historically. It's on my logo. It would be a bison all the way. That would be my choice.
All right, big blue bison, Denver.
I love that. Let's put it near the new stadium.
I'm here for it.
And then it's been kind of in the zeitgeist because the sequel has been announced. But what's your schedule look like for us hosting a Bend It Like Beckham watch party at the Mayan Theater?
Oh my gosh. Let's do it. ASAP.
Done.
I'll be there. I will make it happen. That would be amazing. I was
This
just
is
there
like,
earlier today, not watching a movie, but I was walking by it, and it's such a
no, it's
beautiful
cool if
place.
you were. It's a great like watching. I've
I'm
always
allowed to
wanted
watch
to
a
like
movie.
take the laptop and just have like old timey movies like playing in the background while like I'm responding to emails and things like that. Like it'd be such a hip workspace.
Yeah, they should
That's
do
true.
that for sure.
Yeah. Oh, that is
Yeah.
true. Like have a little work from or what do they call it? A workplace or a space
Work from the Mayan.
co-working at the Mayan.
Yeah. Done. See?
So
All right,
fun.
so we've got Councilwoman Alvidrez on the hook for Bend It Like Beckham at the Mayan. We got the Rapids Chief Business Officer Haley Dermer on the hook for a pool party. So we're getting all the stakeholders to commit to these super fun events. That's our real mission.
Hey, I'm here for it. That sounds like a good time. Way to build community. And thank you for doing that. Thank you for building community around this. It's really great.
I mean, it's the best thing about Denver is the community. Like,
Agreed.
it's why it's why you've been here your whole life and why so many other people have chosen to come here and make their life here.
Yeah. And my parents chose to come here and make their life here. I think they thought that they would feel welcome and that there would be opportunity. And I think that's what the stadium brings to opportunity. Right now, we're seeing a lack of jobs across the nation. And so we need to find ways to employ really good people in fun and helpful and meaningful ways.
Well, I guess as we finish up, is there anything you would like to put on blast, advocate for, tell people to come out to?
Well, definitely September 11th, that burned down at 6:30, that event where you can come give your opinion or ask questions. And check out Levitt Pavilion. Definitely check them out and come visit before the season wraps up.
Awesome. Sarah, you have anything else?
No, thanks so much for joining us. I'm excited for seeing what all the great things that come to District 7.
Me too.
And just I loved seeing you in the Denver FC shirt at that council vote. I was like, she gets it. She knows.
That was amazing. And one of my colleagues leaned over. He's like, will you do me a favor and just vote no? Because I just want to see Rob Cohen's face that you're dressed up like that and you vote no.
Oh, man. I think, yeah, ultimate rug pull.
Yeah, that was not going to happen, but it would have been entertaining.
Awesome. Well, we can't express how much we appreciate you taking the time to have this conversation. We think it's really going to be good for the listeners to help ingratiate themselves to the district that you love, that Sara and I have spent so much time just enjoying, and look forward to it to being like a focal point at home for women's soccer in Denver.
Love it. Thank you for having me.
What a great conversation that was with Councilwoman Alvidrez. You can really tell how much she loves her district and how excited she is to share it with the soccer world, especially leading up to the opening of the stadium in 2028.
If you're just as excited as us about District 7 community ongoings and Denver Summit FC, you can join us Thursday night at Burn Down on South Broadway from 6:30 to 8:30 p.m. for a Denver Summit FC District 7 community open house. That's all I've got this week. Any final thoughts, Kaylee?
Just that, if you guys want to connect with us on socials, be sure to check us out at Summit Up Show on Instagram and Summit Up on Blue Sky. You can find me at kaylee.jacoby.long on Instagram. And Matt, where can they find you?
You can find me at Matthew Wick on Blue Sky. You can also find us at Pitcaster or at Bangarang SC on Instagram. Our intro and outro music is Climb On, late night radio remix by Denver's own Maddie O'Neill, featuring Briscoe Jones. Go to maddieo'neill.com for info and tour dates, including her September 27th show at Red Rocks Amphitheater. I will say, for the Pitcast podcast, I just went and saw our local band that does the intro outro music, Don Chicharome, and it was an amazing show. So I highly recommend, if you guys are bopping listening to the start and end of this show, get your Red Rocks tickets. It's so cool to basically just participate in the local music scene.
That's amazing.
How about we end with a sum it up?
I don't know.
You just say sum it up.
You just say sum it up?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Do we do it at the same time?
No, you go first.
Sum it up.
Nailed it. Sum it up.
Please make sure that's not...
Cut.